essentially, just like Joe Biden's been asked to step aside by his party, and he'll be speaking first.
But what a great moment in American history during an election process to highlight what type of America that you want to live in. Do you want America that highlights the pro-Hamas and protests everything and hateful, and that even members of Congress have to change their name to check in a hotel because they don't know what type of crowd is going to be here? I mean, this is truly insane. And then especially when you have someone that is on the ticket in Tim Walz who actually allowed death and destruction to happen in the middle of the street when he was as governor. And then you got another person at the top of the ticket that said, oh, you know what, protesters, I'm going to help bail you out, even though you decided to set buildings on fire. So I think it's only fitting for their coronation, for them accepting the nomination, that they are met with the people that rally behind them and who they support.
Yeah, Lawrence, they just released, the DNC just sent out themes for every single day. They're going to try to promote this as we're a party that has come together. We're passing the torch now from Joe Biden to Kamala Harris. But what we're not going to hear
we
this
grabbed
week,
the torch
exactly,
and handed it over.
Exactly. We told him to hand us that torch, and we grabbed it from him. We're not going to hear Kamala in her own words. All the progressive socialist policies that she voted for in the past. We're not going to hear Tim Walz in his own words, all the socialist policies that he's voted for. They're radical positions. We're not going to hear about Kamala's flip-flops. Does she want Medicare for all? Does she not? Does she want fracking? Maybe now she does, as of 2 weeks ago, but her entire political career, she wanted to ban fracking. And we're not going to hear a lot from the DNC about all the protests.
All right, so here's an example of what, Lawrence, what we can expect from Joe Biden's speech, which he's been working on. He's in Camp David working on it. They got past the period of mourning. Now he wants to set up his legacy. And this, according to reports of Biden aides who have previewed the themes of the current president's remarks. He will say that she, Kamala Harris, is the best person to finish a campaign that he started, one that remains rooted in protecting democratic ideals, preventing second term from former President Donald Trump. Mr. Biden's remarks will make the case that democracy prevailed with his election, and for Ms. Harris, her running mate, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, in November will mean that democracy is preserved. And he'll talk about what a threat to democracy that Donald Trump would be had he won. I don't know if he's going to talk at all about how he was ousted. I imagine not.
Lawrence?
You know, it goes back to how we started this. They're putting him on night one. Are you kidding me? He's the sitting president of the United States. And it's very clear that the Democrats don't want him lingering around. So they had to give him a speaking slot, but they had to put him on day one because they have to move on from him. But it's so interesting that, according to the aides, that all the talk is going to be about democracy. You got people that are struggling with record inflation, can't afford things. We've had viewer emails saying that they're missing meals on a day-to-day basis. Diners are talking with people that are saying they have to bring their children and grandchildren to move in back into the house. But they want to talk about the single most important issue to them, which is saving democracy, after they push Joe Biden off the ticket and put someone on the ticket in Kamala Harris that hasn't received one vote, not one single vote. But the theme of this convention is going to be somehow democracy, guys.
Yeah, right? It's going to be choreographed. It's going to be completely scripted down to the second. It'll be that, you know, Trump is terrible, Kamala's the second coming, and the media will be salivating if you watch any of the other channels.
All right, there'll be a bounce out of this. There's been a honeymoon that's existing for 20-plus days, and then we'll see when this thing gets started right before Labor Day. So right now, if you look at the national polls, New York Times, Siena poll among registered voters has her up by about 4. That's within the margin of error. But the president was never, it doesn't look like President Trump was ever in the cards of winning the popular vote anyway. But that's just a national poll. I thought Maureen Dowd's column was very interesting. The headlines got my attention. The Dems are delighted, but a coup is still a coup. And there's some problems underneath. They talk about President Obama shoving aside the Bidens, and they're angry. They talk about Michelle Obama's relationship with the Bidens has soured since they just ostracized Hunter's first wife, who's Michelle's friend Kathleen. Ron Klain was telling Anderson Cooper, I think it's unfortunate because I think President Biden had won the nomination fair and square. 14 million people had voted for the vice president. He went on to say he could have won. Ron Klain, who was his former chief of staff and still a good friend. It shows you on the outside, it looks like, hey, he's 81. He's going to step aside. but obviously there are some real issues there.
Yeah, they keep saying that they're unified going into this convention, that Kamala Harris has this massive movement behind her. It is Obama-esque, is what they continue to say. Right now, and this is just day one, guys, I haven't seen this mass movement of people with Kamala Harris shirts, shoes, and everything. Because remember, I was on the Obama side back in 2008 when there was an actual movement to elect him. I'm not seeing it for Kamala Harris, but this day one, maybe we start to see this massive undertaking of people that said they like Kamala Harris, and they can also lay out the policies that she's going to change. I look forward to seeing that at the convention.
I do know that President Obama is going to speak. We're not sure which day. We were originally told Tuesday, but now that schedule might be changing. Hillary Clinton's going to speak. Jill Biden is going to speak. The governor of Illinois, Pritzker, and Tim Walz, and Kamala obviously will speak. Kamala's husband's going to speak, and President Bill Clinton.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton's probably going to go on Monday. I was just telling Ainsley before the show, I'm surprised Bill Clinton's got a prominent spot. After all these revelations come out about the Epstein situation, it's on the flights, they still have him out there as if...
How can they not, though, right, Lawrence? I mean, do you think they can shun
but
him?
But Obama, to me, I thought was the rock star. You put him closer, you know.
Oh, closer to Thursday.
Closer to Thursday. If he is going to be there Tuesday, I'm shocked. And then I'm wondering, too... about this. Go ahead.
I'm sorry about that, Brad. But you can't have Barack Obama upstage anyone. Okay, everybody knows he's still the star of the Democratic Party, but he can't run. And Michelle Obama has made it very clear she'll never run, that she doesn't like that. And so there's an interesting thing with the Democratic Party. They want him closer, but they want him distant as well, because it reminds people of what a competent, you may disagree with his policies. You may say, hey, I think what he believes on this is dead wrong. But you know he's a polished politician that went through the actual process. And it is what the Democratic Party used to be.
But I also think that he's mentored her for 20 years. And I remember Bill Clinton really was the star of Obama when he came out in 2012 and said, even I couldn't have fixed the economy the way Barack Obama did. And that kind of launched Obama to beat Mitt Romney, because they were pretty close at that point.
You know who's not on the schedule? Michelle Obama. I was surprised to see that. I wonder if they'll bring her out.
And also there's some talk that Kamala Harris is not happy that it took a long time for Pelosi and Barack Obama to endorse her. And
well, they wanted an open process.
Yeah.
They wanted an open process, and Joe Biden wanted to give one last you-know-what to the Democratic Party for forcing him out, and he announced that she was going to be the person.
Right.
And the Obamas and Pelosi said they wanted an open convention. I actually agree with them on that point of view. If you're going to force a sitting president out of the race, maybe you should bring it to the voters and allow them to vote on it. Apparently Joe Biden was against that and said, listen, I'm going to anoint her to be the person. And it took them a while, the Obamas, as well as the Pelosi, to endorse Kamala Harris.
All right, so meanwhile, both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are looking to rally Pennsylvania voters.
Harris and Tim Walz will begin their Pennsylvania bus tour today. Meanwhile, President Trump will head to York, Pennsylvania tomorrow after his rally in Wilkes-Barre last night.